My name is Marcus. I'm 44, and until a few months ago, I thought I had finally rebuilt the life I nearly lost. I was married to Celeste for 22 years. We had 3 kids, 2 daughters, 11 and 15, and a son in college. Our family looked perfect from the outside. The kind of perfect people envy without knowing why. We had the 2-story in a quiet suburb, a golden retriever named Leo, weekend camping trips in the Rockies, and matching Christmas pajamas for the annual photo on the staircase. We were that family. But perfection is a photograph. Static. Smiling. And utterly fake. Behind closed doors, things were tired. Not toxic, not explosive. Just weary. Like a marriage worn thin by years of parenting, bills, soccer practices, the slow erosion of intimacy. We weren't fighting. We were fading. In 2022, I was the one who asked for a divorce. I remember the way her face fell when I said it. Not angry. Not surprised. Just deflated. Like she had been waiting for one of us to say it first. We didn't scream. We didn't throw things. I packed a few bags, moved into a 2-bedroom condo 15 minutes away. We told the kids we needed space. We didn't lie to them, not exactly. We just didn't tell them everything. But we never filed the paperwork. And somehow, over the months that followed, the distance softened something. We started texting more. Then talking. Then occasionally meeting for lunch. Those lunches turned into late-night coffees. Those coffees into a weekend trip, just to talk. We started seeing each other again, not as husband and wife, but like 2 people trying to remember who the hell they were before the fatigue of life buried them. For a while, I thought we had a second chance. A rare thing in today's world. Celeste is a licensed psychotherapist. PhD, framed certifications, the whole deal. She specializes in DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. The kind of work that doesn't just ask you to listen, but to bleed emotionally for people whose wounds are bottomless. I admired that about her. Still do, in some ways. She has this gift for making people feel seen. Like they matter. It's part of what made me fall for her when we met in our early 20s. But the weight of her job, it wore on her. I could see it, especially as we tried rebuilding. She came home late. Tired. Eyes glassy from crying with clients who wanted to die, or who couldn't stop hurting themselves, or who had been hurt by people they trusted most. She used to talk to me about it. Decompress. But then she stopped. When she started growing distant again, I didn't question it. She told me it was work. Emergency sessions. New clients with extreme trauma. A case that hit too close to home. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? This was Celeste. The woman I married. The mother of my children. The woman I was trying to start over with. Even when she'd sleep with her phone face down. Even when she'd get texts at odd hours and excuse herself to the other room. Even when she stopped initiating any kind of physical affection. I rationalized it all. She's just burned out, I told myself. Give her space. Be patient. Don't push. You're the one who left. You have to earn this second chance. And then one night, 3:17 a.m., to be exact, I woke up with this pit in my stomach. Couldn't sleep. Something felt off. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She was in the bathroom, door closed, light under the crack. I figured maybe one of the kids had texted. Maybe an emergency with her late-night client. Something harmless. I picked it up. What I saw changed everything. Her phone buzzed again. I picked it up. The screen lit up with a message preview, just enough to read the first few words. Had a great time tonight. You're incredible. No name. Just a heart emoji. That was it. Just a handful of words. But they tore through me like a blade between the ribs. I remember sitting there, staring at her phone, barely breathing. My hands went cold. You know that feeling when your body knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet? Like you're watching your own life tilt off balance in slow motion. That was me, frozen, numb, already spiraling and pretending I wasn't. She walked out of the bathroom a minute later, wiping her face with a towel like nothing had happened. Like she wasn't carrying a secret in her pocket while I sat there choking on blind trust. I didn't say anything that night. Just handed her the phone and mumbled something about not being able to sleep. She smiled, kissed me on the forehead, and slid into bed. Within minutes, she was asleep, peaceful, even. I lay awake next to her until the sun came up. The next day, I couldn't focus on work. Couldn't think straight. I told myself I was overreacting. Misreading. Jumping to conclusions. That night? That's when it escalated. She was driving my Mercedes at the time. We shared it, but the app was still connected to my account. That's when I checked the GPS, something I hadn't done in over a year. The car's location showed up in real time. She was parked at some apartment complex across town. Not near her office. Not near any of her friends. Just, sitting there. Engine off. Lights off. GPS pin static for over an hour. It was 3:11 a.m. I sat on the couch in the dark, staring at the little blue dot on my phone screen, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. I texted her. Me, everything okay? Her, just visiting a friend. Everything's fine. No name. No context. No explanation. And I didn't buy it, not at that hour, not without warning, and not after the message I saw the night before. She came home around 6 a.m. I was already in the kitchen, pretending to make coffee I didn't even want. She looked surprised to see me up. Gave me a tired smile, her eyes puffy like she'd been crying, or drinking. Maybe both. I asked her, straight-faced, who were you with? She paused just long enough to make it worse. Then she said his name, Tom. Some new colleague from her practice. She said they'd been trying to meet outside of work for months, nothing serious, just decompressing, catching up. Schedules overlapped. One thing led to another. Too late to drive home. Too tired. I wasn't convinced. Not for a second. You don't spend over 2 decades with someone, watching how they lie to others, how they tell half-truths when it suits them, without learning how deception sounds when it's spoken gently. So I started digging. I found the guy's Instagram first. Basic profile, private. No followers I recognized. But the name matched what she gave me. A quick search turned up his number and an address, a modest 1-bedroom apartment across town, not far from where she'd parked the Mercedes that night. I thought, maybe if he really was just a colleague, a friend, he'd want to clear things up. I wasn't angry, I just needed clarity. I sent him a short, polite message. His response came in under a minute. Back off, man. She's not your property. Don't text me again. That was the moment the floor shifted beneath me. You don't send that kind of message if you're innocent. You don't spit venom unless there's something you're protecting. He wasn't defensive. He was smug. Triumphant. Like he thought he'd won. The next day, I drove to his building. The sun was setting behind me, painting the sky in this sickly orange hue that made everything feel more surreal. I waited by the curb until he came out, tall, lean, late 30s maybe. No white coat, no clipboard. Just gym shorts and a protein shake. He spotted me and walked over like he'd been waiting for this. Didn't I tell you to stay away, he snapped. I kept my hands in my pockets, voice calm. I just want to know what's going on between you and Celeste. He smirked, cocky, like I was some punchline he couldn't wait to share at parties. She didn't tell you, he said. Guess that means it's none of your business. I kept my cool. Barely. She's my wife. He stepped closer, chest puffed like a frat boy looking for a fight. Ex-wife. Get it through your thick skull. Then he shoved me, hard. Right in the chest. I stumbled backward and hit the concrete with a grunt. Not enough to break anything, but enough to bruise more than just my ribs. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling the cops. Get the hell off my property. I stood up, brushed myself off, and walked back to my car without a word. I could have swung. Could have screamed. But that's not how I fight. I fight with facts. Back home, I told Celeste everything. About the message. The shove. The smirk. She looked at me like I was some wild animal she couldn't reason with. You're overreacting, she said, tone flat. It was a light affair. Barely even emotional. We just shared memes, talked late. Flirty, maybe. But that's all. She called it a light affair. Like infidelity had categories. Like pain came in units. She claimed nothing physical happened. Said I was being controlling again. That I was spiraling. That she was allowed to have friends, and I was just insecure because I hadn't healed. I stared at her, jaw clenched so tight I thought my molars would crack. The gaslighting was surgical. Precise. Like she was flipping my pain back on me and expecting me to apologize for it. But even after that, we didn't split. That's the part most people don't understand. We still talked. Still went to music festivals. We slept together. Cooked dinner. Watched reruns of shows we used to binge a decade ago. There were moments, fleeting ones, where it almost felt like we were rebuilding something. But once trust is cracked, everything starts to rot beneath the surface. Then in August, she bought her own Tesla. We sat on the couch while I helped her set up the app, linking it to her phone. Midway through the setup, she suddenly froze. Her thumb hovered over the screen like it was radioactive. What's wrong? I asked. She looked up at me, eyes cautious. You can see my car's location now, right? Yeah, I said. Just like you've always been able to see mine. Why? She went quiet. Then she smiled, too fast, too bright. No reason. Let's set up separate accounts, though. You know, for privacy. That word, privacy, slapped me in the face like a cold rag. The very next night, I drove by his apartment. Her Tesla was parked right out front, engine off. Lights off. Just like before. I texted her. Then him. No reply. I waited 5 minutes. 10. Nothing. She didn't come out. Didn't even try to lie this time. I went home, pacing the kitchen like a prisoner in his own house. I didn't know what I was even hoping for anymore, confession. Apology. Closure. Then I remembered something. Her journal. She always kept one on her work desk, part personal, part professional. I had never touched it before. I respected her space. But that night, something inside me snapped. I walked upstairs. The door to her office was open. The journal was right there, under a lamp. Like it wanted to be found. I picked it up. Sat down. And opened it. What I read made my blood run cold. Tom wasn't just a friend. Not even just a colleague. He was one of her clients. A man with BPD, borderline personality disorder. A vulnerable patient under her care. Someone whose entire emotional world could tilt from a single look. She wrote about their sessions, 4, 5, 6 hours long. Not therapy. Not by the end. She described the way he touched her. The way she let him. Kissing. Grinding. Lying in bed together while talking about what-ifs. There were whole pages where she wrestled with guilt, and then justified it. I know it's wrong. I know I could lose everything. But when I'm with him, I feel alive. Seen. Wanted. She fantasized about running away. About living in a tiny cabin in Oregon, off-grid, just the two of them. Marcus would survive. He always does. But this? This could be real. She wrote those words while I was upstairs, folding laundry. Or tucking our daughter into bed. When she came home that night, I was sitting at the dining table, journal open in front of me. She froze in the doorway. I read it, I said quietly. Her knees buckled. She dropped her bag and just stood there, trembling. Please, she whispered. Please don't report me. I didn't answer her. Didn't scream. Didn't throw the journal at her like it was a live grenade, though God knows I wanted to. I just stood there, clutching the pages that had shattered the last illusion I was holding onto. My pulse was pounding so hard, I could hear it in my skull. The room felt too bright. Too quiet. Like time had paused to watch the final breath of our marriage. She knelt in front of me, crying like she thought the tears would soften the truth written in her own hand. She reached for my arm, and I took a single step back. Don't, I said. Her face twisted in panic. Marcus, please. You don't understand, he's different. I didn't mean to fall into it. It was never supposed to go that far. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. You felt something? I said, voice flat. She nodded like that explained everything. Like her feelings somehow justified the betrayal, the double life, the twisted intimacy with a man who had trusted her as a therapist. He makes me feel seen, she whispered. He listens to me. I laughed. I didn't mean to. It just came out, a dry, bitter chuckle that felt like it echoed off every wall of our home. I listened to you, I said. I gave you space. I gave you the benefit of the doubt. I gave you a second chance after everything. And you gave your body, your mind, your soul, to a patient. She flinched. He needs me, she said, as if that was an excuse. No, I said, finally stepping away. He owns you now. I walked out. No shoes. No bag. Just my keys in my hand and the taste of something foul in my mouth that I couldn't spit out no matter how hard I tried. That night, I didn't sleep. I drove aimlessly for hours. At one point I parked in a supermarket lot and sat there, engine running, staring at nothing. Around 4:30 a.m., I messaged my therapist and asked for an emergency session. By 10 a.m., I was in her office, the journal on the table between us. She didn't open it right away. She just looked at me. Waiting. I told her everything. About the affair. The journal. The client. The sessions that turned into emotional hand grenades. The fantasies scribbled across the margins in a handwriting I once recognized as my wife's, but now read like the confession of a stranger. My therapist listened in silence. When I was done, she folded her hands and spoke gently. Marcus. I need you to understand something. This isn't just infidelity. This is a serious breach of ethical conduct. If what's in that journal is true, I'm obligated to report her. I nodded. I already knew. A week later, the phone rang. It was the Attorney General's office. They asked me to come in for a sworn statement. I did. Alone. Dressed in black slacks and a white shirt. I looked like I was heading to a funeral, and in a way, I was. The interview was long. Methodical. They asked about her practice. About the man, Tom. About our marriage. The timeline. The behavior changes. I answered every question with measured calm, even when my voice wanted to crack. They asked if I had documentation. I told them I did, but I wouldn't hand over the journal unless subpoenaed. Not because I wanted to protect her, but because I didn't want to become like her, careless, cruel, self-justifying. I wanted this to be clean, honest, righteous. Later, I sat her down and told her, "You need to self-report." She resisted. Claimed it wasn't as serious as it sounded. That I was trying to destroy her. That Tom wasn't even technically a client anymore. But eventually, maybe because she knew she was already caught, she submitted the report. That was the last time we ever spoke like a married couple. The formal investigation began within days. Her practice was frozen. Her client list reviewed. Her sessions audited. She was suspended pending the board's findings. They started reaching out to past clients, staff, colleagues. It was like watching someone drown in slow motion. She tried to swim, tried to spin it. Claimed it was a misunderstanding. That he was just emotionally dependent, not a patient. That I had fabricated the whole thing out of bitterness. But the receipts didn't lie. The time logs. The late-night appointments. The GPS data. The journal entries. The intimate texts. The fact that her car was still regularly parked in front of his apartment in the middle of the night. The case was airtight. And yet, she tried to take me down with her. Filed for a harassment restraining order. Accused me of theft. Claimed I had sent her a barrage of aggressive texts. It was a performance. And I didn't play the villain she wanted me to be. I stood before the judge with evidence. Calm. Clear. Unshaken. The HRO was thrown out in less than 20 minutes. And still, she clung to him. Even as her career hung by a thread, her license suspended, our family in shambles, and her name under investigation, she kept seeing him. I know, because I checked. That gut feeling would rise in me late at night, and every time I opened the app, her Tesla was parked outside his apartment like some pathetic shrine to everything she destroyed. She traded a marriage, a legacy, a life, for a fantasy. A man who once cried during their sessions about being abandoned, now holding the hand of the woman who abandoned everything for him. The worst part? I think she still believed it was love. But it wasn't love. It was chaos. Trauma-bonded neediness wrapped in stolen moments and shared delusion. And she gave it everything. Our kids don't know the whole truth yet. I've shielded them from it. Someday, maybe I'll tell them. When they're older. When they ask why mom lost her license. Why she can't see clients anymore. Why dad sleeps with the door locked and doesn't trust easily. But for now, I'm the one holding the emotional fallout. The one driving to court, sorting custody, coordinating lawyers, and answering emails from investigators. People keep calling me strong. Resilient. But the truth is, I'm just trying to stay upright. I go to therapy twice a week. I force myself to go to the gym, even when I'd rather drink until I forget her voice. I try to sleep, though most nights my brain replays her journal in slow, echoing fragments. Sometimes I sit in my car for half an hour before walking into the house. Because I still see her ghost there. Not the woman I married, but the one she became. The one who whispered, "I love you," while mapping out a life with another man. Here's what I've come to understand. She didn't just betray our marriage. She betrayed me. The man who tried to save us. The man who sat in therapy, took the blame, carried her stress like it was his own. The man who believed in her. Who held on when any other man would have walked. She betrayed the man I became trying to save something that was already dead. That's the wound that doesn't scar easy. That's the betrayal that rewrites who you are. It's been 3 years since everything came crashing down. 3 years since I stood in that courthouse, signing the final divorce papers. Since I watched the last piece of our former life snap in half like a broken oath. And now, I've never been more alive. After the investigation closed, her license was revoked permanently. The board's official report cited gross ethical misconduct, dual relationships, and sustained boundary violations with a known client suffering from severe emotional instability. They called it a breach of public trust. In short, she lost everything. I moved on. I bought a house outside the city, a place with space, trees, and silence that wasn't heavy. 3 bedrooms, a wide front porch, and a backyard with a fire pit where the kids and I roast marshmallows on Friday nights. I got full custody. She didn't fight me. The kids live with me now. I make breakfast. I show up for school pickups. I learned how to braid my youngest daughter's hair. I taught my son how to change a tire. And for the first time in their lives, they don't walk on eggshells. They have peace. I started my own consulting business, something I'd been putting off for years. Turns out, when you're no longer pouring all your energy into holding a broken person together, you can build something real for yourself. The business is thriving. I work hard. I sleep better. I smile more. The gym became therapy. I lost 22 pounds. Gained muscle. Confidence. A spine that no longer bows for people who don't respect it. I started reading again. Hiking. I learned how to fish. I found myself in quiet places I never thought I'd enjoy. And then, there's her. She moved in 2 houses down. I first noticed her walking her golden retriever at dawn, earbuds in, messy bun bouncing, eyes locked on the sidewalk like she was solving the world's problems. She was younger than me, mid-30s, maybe. Elegant in that effortless way. Slender frame, long honey blonde hair, eyes that didn't just look at you, they read you. We exchanged nods for weeks before the first conversation. She knocked on my door one day with a dish of lasagna and said, "I figured you could use something homemade." I invited her in. She met my kids. They adored her immediately. What started as friendship turned into something warmer. Deeper. She never pushed. Never judged. She listened, really listened, when I told her about everything. The affair. The journal. The breakdown. The war inside my chest. And when I was done, she just said, "You didn't deserve that. But you survived it. That matters more." Over time, she became more than just a woman I was seeing. She became a guardian, for me, for the kids, for the peace we had fought so hard to protect. She's everything Celeste wasn't. She's kind without being fragile. She's firm without being cruel. She brings light into rooms without needing to be the center of attention. And she never once made me question my worth. We cook together. Dance barefoot in the kitchen. She makes my daughters feel safe and seen. My son asks her for advice. And some nights, when we sit under the stars on that porch swing and her head rests on my shoulder, I feel something I thought I'd lost forever. I feel whole. She lives in a crumbling rental apartment across town. Still with him, Tom. The man who once whispered poetry into her trauma-riddled heart. The one she gave up everything for. He drinks now. A lot. He hasn't held a job in over a year. Rumors say he tried to start his own practice but couldn't pass the licensing exams. Some say he's on medication. Others say he isn't on enough. Celeste works as a cashier at a local grocery store. 10-hour shifts. No insurance. No patience. No prestige. She looks tired. Aging fast. Sometimes I run into her. We nod. She doesn't speak unless I do. Her hair's always tied back now. Her clothes hang on her like she's shrinking. She used to stand on stages, give talks on emotional resilience. Now she bags milk and frozen pizza with trembling hands. But the worst part? She still thinks it was worth it. I can see it in her eyes, that flicker of stubbornness, of denial. She's living in the wreckage of her own choices, and yet she clutches it like a trophy. Maybe she thinks admitting she was wrong would shatter her completely. But that's not my concern anymore. She made her bed. I'm just glad I no longer lie in it. There's a quote I heard once that stuck with me. The man who walks through fire and doesn't come out bitter, is the man who wins. I didn't win in a courtroom. I didn't win through revenge. I won by becoming a better man than I ever was when I was with her. I won by being the father my children needed. I won by building a life rooted in truth, not illusion. I won by finding a woman who knows how to love without breaking what she touches. And when I look at my reflection now, I don't see the betrayed man anymore. I see the survivor. The protector. The one who refused to let betrayal define his future. And that's the real victory.